Hello and welcome. Our top focus today is on the intensifying rivalry between two African neighbours, Algeria and Mali. The Junta-led Mali has accused Algeria of supporting terrorism in the Sahel region, as well as interfering in its internal matters. In some strong comments, Mali has said that it neither seeks nor accepts lessons from Algeria. It has asked its northern neighbour to stop using it as a tool for international positioning and rather urged Algeria to refocus its energy on resolving its own internal crises. These comments were issued by the Malian Foreign Ministry and came in response to remarks by Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Atta. Now, earlier, the Algerian minister stated that a military solution to armed conflicts in the Sahel, and particularly Mali, is impossible. He also said that Bamako should not consider its opposition groups as terrorists. Mali in West Africa is ruled by a military government led by Colonel Assimi Goïta, who took charge in 2021 after double coups. On the other side, the Algerian Republic in the north is led by President Abdelmajid Tebboune. Now, tensions between the two nations have been ongoing since the Mali coup. But it was not always the case. In fact, Algeria has historically engaged in Malian conflicts. In 2015, Algeria mediated a peace deal between the Mali government and the ethnic Tuareg rebels in the north. This deal was called the Algiers Accords. Tuareg rebels aim to liberate the entire northern half of Mali. There are also reports of them having links to Al-Qaeda, which is active in the Sahel region. Algeria also shares a long border with Mali in its north. The deal that brokered in 2015 was seen as vital for peace in the region. However, in January last year, Mali's military government terminated this deal. The junta cited the change in posture of some signatory groups and acts of hostility by Algerian authorities as reasons for the abrupt termination. Now, this termination came amid a series of ruptures initiated by the Mali military government. It had also forced the departure of a UN peacekeeping mission and had severed long-standing ties with France and its European partners, while turning toward Russia for security and peace. In fact, Russian fighters, who are now fighting the Tuareg separatists in Mali, suffered their biggest defeat in Africa last year at their hands. Now, the junta accuses Algeria of supporting these rebels. Since the military government quashed the deal, it has been engaging in verbal wars with Algeria. This included the UN General Assembly session last year, where it accused Algiers of providing shelter and sustenance to terrorists. Mali is also supported by Algeria's other rival, Morocco, in these claims. Algiers is also accused by Rabat of supporting separatists in Western Sahara, a region seeking independence from Morocco. While tensions are escalating between Mali and Algeria, Morocco is getting closer and closer to Bamako and other West African juntas. Last month, Morocco mediated the release of 4 French nationals held in Mali's neighbour, Burkina Faso. On the issue of Western Sahara as well, France has ditched its former colony Algeria and has supported Morocco's claims. So troubles seem to be mounting for Algiers as it faces several diplomatic setbacks. How will the latest spat escalate the tensions? Now, for more on this, we have with us Dr. Francis Okpeleke, an international relations and security expert who is joining us live from Auckland, New Zealand. Thank you for being with us.
A pleasure is all mine. It's good to have you to be here as well.
Great. Now, how credible are Mali's accusations against Algeria of supporting terrorist groups in the Sahel? And what evidence has Mali provided to substantiate these claims?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think what we're seeing right now is just an evidential claim of a diplomatic row between these two nations, and I think this is unsurprising, really, because if you look at the foreign minister's Albert Atta's statements regarding that the possibility of a military solution in Mali has failed, and as such is something that should not be talked about. I think Mali has started to think that Algeria is trying to meddle into its national affairs, and like ever since. Mali broke away from the peace accord, the odious peace accord last year. Tensions have been, brewing between these two nations, particularly given the contiguous borders that border Algeria and Mali. So what we're seeing right now is just more or less verbal wars being traded, diplomatic ping pongs. No, don't forget, also last year in January 25th, Mali also accused Algeria of also kind of being complicit and sharing proximity with terrorist groups, providing them logistical support and providing them food as well. And that didn't also go well with Algeria. So this verbal wars and diplomatic tit for tat is just akin to both nations trying to kind of safeguard their national interest. This is also, totemic of a very, what we call the security dilemma, where suspicions from one nation will give impetus to other nations to kind of protect its own national interest. And also, let's not also forget, this also borders on issues relating to political interference. Mali doesn't want Algeria interfering in its affairs, and Algeria, on the other hand, is also trying to safeguard its national interests, given the fact that the Sahel has been a very major point for security challenges in the last years.
And Doctor, what role has Algeria historically played in the Sahel region? And how might these allegations impact its influence and relationships with the neighboring countries?
Yeah, absolutely. Algeria has played a very historic role, and I think this historic role goes back as far as the 90s. Algeria has been a principal mediator and guarantor of historical peace deals, and Mali is in the traditional backyard of influence, of geostrategic influence for Algeria, given their contiguous borders. I think in the 1990s, Algeria kind of facilitated or mediated the Tamanrasset Accord. And this time our assets are called saw to it that people movement of Azawad and Arabic Islamic Front of Azawad kind of come to a peace deal with the Malian government. And also, you can, of course, the 2015 Algiers Accord, that's the Accord for Peace and Reconciliation in Mali with the Tuaregs, was also one that the Algerian government also kind of played a very central role. And let's also kind of take away the fact that Algeria, alongside with Mali, Mauritania, and Niger, created in 2010 the Joint Operational General Staff Committee for combating terrorism in the region. So historically, you can see a lot of back and forth in terms of cross-border collaboration and historical engagement between these two countries. So this diplomatic row that we're seeing right now, of course, does come with surprising antics related to it, and naturally, this kind of pivots into conversation relating to distrust and mistrust between these two nations, given the fact that Algeria really maintained that semi-neutrality has been as a guarantor and facilitator of peace talks.
Right. Could this face-off between Mali and Algeria further destabilize the Sahel region? And what are the potential implications for regional and international counter-terrorism efforts?
I think there are significant ramifications that we can't rule out. Number one, like I said, the Sahel region is already boiling. There's a lot of violent extremists taking place, terrorist activities. The exit of France has left a security vacuum that, of course, other nations are seeking to exploit for geostrategic ambitions. So I think the first thing it does is this further pokes a hole into destabilizing the region. The military purge that have taken place in the recent years have actually also giving impetus to the further destabilization of the region. So this one is also adding an extra layer to it. Let's not forget, recently the Nigerian government or the Junta-led government have accused Nigeria as well of meddling into its affairs. So we are seeing more like a domino effect of accusations and counter accusations by different countries, relating to what their involvement is or aiding France in trying to destabilize the country. Another thing we can also kind of look into is cross-border collaboration. No country can actually combat terrorism on its own. No one works in silo. It requires multinational collaboration and joint efforts by way of task force, that for this to actually occur. So with Algeria and Mali now being in this diplomatic role, this kind of creates a lot of security vacuum as well, where terrorist group can actually exploit to further create, further perpetuate the activities, including kidnappings, trafficking, and the likes. Also, it kind of reduces the possibility of joint talks among the, participating states. So this also kind of potentially emboldens terrorists to kind of exploit the lack of regional opposition to further perpetuate the activities. So I think the security ramifications are plethora.
And for your valued insights and analysis.
Yeah, absolutely.